Begin the current Daf Masechtas Beruchas Daf Chav Ches. Begin 7 lines down by the top of the Yamid, where we quickly review Daf Chav Zayin. Some of the ideas we spoke about in the previous Daf related to the halachas of Tefillah, which that's the topic of our parak, Tefillah Sashachar. Spoke about the interesting question when Rabbi Yehuda says ad, until, does that mean ad ve'ad b'chlal or v'lo yad b'chlal? We had a similar contradiction regarding Plaga Mincha. It sounded like it's v'lo yad b'chlal, because else he's like the Rabbanan. On the other hand, Musaf sounded like he says ad ve'ad b'chlal, because or else how you can have the case, which we're actually going to discuss in today's daf, that you could have Musaf and Mincha at the same time, until the 7th hour, must mean including the 7th hour. So the Gemara concludes when he says by Tefillah Sashachar, it's ad arba shayis, includes the 4th hour. And that we brought a Mishnah in Idias that says like him, and therefore the halacha is like him. What do you do with Plaga Mincha? It meant the first half. The first half of Mincha Gitana, add that first half, including that first half, that's 10 3/4 of an hour into the day. That's where we say his opinion of Plaga Mincha, and therefore his shita when he says ad was ad b'chlal. Then we spoke about the halacha concept of early Shabbos, which is based on the principle of this opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, where we said since halacha is not like either one of them, the avid kamar avid, the avid kamar avid, as we see, that's the custom that people daven early, people daven late. You could do either one because we could either do like Rabbi Yehuda or like the Rabban. And then we concluded regarding the halacha of tefillah erev ein lo keva. We said that Ma'ariv has no permanence. Why do you say just so you could daven all night? Is to tell you like the Mandam of Rishus, which that started off this whole story that we started, and the Gemara is going to continue on the theme today regarding that story with Rabbi Glil and Rabbi Shua, who that's with their dispute regarding if Ma'ariv is a chayva or Rishus. Rabbi Glil said it's a chayva, and Rabbi Shua was testified by someone that he had said Rishus, and he made him stand on his feet, and therefore everyone started murmuring what's going on, how you're just disrespecting Rabbi Shua like that, and therefore they actually took him down from his Nasish Rabbi Glil because of that story, because it wasn't the first time that he did it. Some of the ideas we're going to speak about in today's daf is continuing this story and what we call Bay Bayim. We find this throughout Shas. That day refers to when Mishnah Masechtas Idias, which means testimonies, was actually made, because it was the day that they appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Nazariah as the Nasi, and then there was a lot of benches that came into the Beis HaMedrash, because he let everybody in to learn, and therefore a lot of wisdom was brought into the Beis HaMedrash, and one of the famous stories regarding a Moini convert. Rabbi Glil then appeased Rabbi Yeshua, and then they made a compromise regarding how they were going to have Rabbi Elazar ben Nazariah 1 week, and Rabbi Glil 3 weeks. Then we go back to the halacha, the Mishnah regarding Musaf being all day, which is machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim, but still you're not supposed to push it off so long. And then again, going back to that brayso, if it's Osas Man Mincha, what do you do at that situation? Then some important halachas that come out from a story regarding making Kiddush before Musaf. And then we go to the next Mishnah regarding Tefillah from the Chun ben Akanya, famous halacha regarding before you learn Torah and after you learn Torah. Additionally, certain stories with their teachers became sick, and the students come in and they have sobering mortality messages to their students before they pass on. Then we go to the next Mishnah regarding what do you do every day tefillah. Interesting, we think it's Shemoneh Esrei. It's not so simple. There's an opinion that holds what we call Me'ein Shemoneh Esrei. You do an abridged Shemoneh Esrei, and some say it's actually dependent on how fluent you are in your davening. Then we're going to go to the last part of the Gemara, which is, we call it Shemoneh Esrei. Why is it called Shemoneh Esrei? Because there's 18 brachas, 3 different interpretations why they made 18 brachas. And interestingly, there's really not Shemoneh Esrei anymore. It's actually 19 brachas. We don't call it Tasha Esrei, but it's actually 19 brachas, because they subsequently added on what's called Birchet Tzedukim because of the heretics. Some say Yeshe HaNoitzri, when he came along, they tried influencing the Jewish people. They instituted in the 19th bracha, so really there's actually 19, and then they show the same 3 interpretations, show where really it's alluded to another one that's like something a little bit more, because there's 18 brachas, and we call Shemoneh Esrei, there's really a 19th one. So again, we are co-sponsored by Talmud Torah Learning Center, Kahal, Zichron Yecheskel, and Daf HaChaim, and Torah Anytime. So we continue from the story, the narrative of the previous daf, which we were just talking about, the story of Rabbi Elazar ben Nazariah, that he went and took over the leadership position of Rabbi Glil because of that story that happened, because of the halacha we told about in our Mishnah of Tefillas Erev, that if it's a Rishus or a Chayva, Tan we learned in a brayso. That day that they appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Nazariah to be the Nasi, Salku l'shem HaPesach, they took away the doorkeeper from the opening of the Beis HaMedrash. But Nasan lam Rishus l'tamidim l'kanis, all the students were allowed into the yeshiva that day. Because up until that point, Rabbi Glil used to announce, and he said, "Kol Talmid she'ein teichei kibari." Any student, his inside is not like his outside. You're not genuine. You're not authentic. Lo yikon l'beis hamedrash. You're not allowed to come into the Beis HaMedrash and learn. Now, actually, in halacha, it's actually a compromise of that. You're allowed to let everyone come in, but first make sure he's somewhat okay before you bring him to the Beis HaMedrash. So get involved with him. Don't just push him away, but then he could come into the Beis HaMedrash. But be that as it may, Glil said no one's allowed to come in. But that day they took away the guard and they let everyone come into the yeshiva. And there were many benches they had to bring in. Rabbi Yechanan, he says, Pligi ba Abba Yosef ben Tostoi v'Rabbanan. It was a machlekes Abba Yosef ben Tostoi and Rabbanan. How many benches came in? Chadama once says he tastes for Arba Me'asav Sol. He had to bring in 400 more benches because of all the students that wanted to learn. Chadama once said Sheva Me'asav Sol, 700 new benches. Now, Havakachol died Gamliel started feeling a little bit disappointed because he saw how many students are coming and he was worried maybe he's going to get punished because he stopped all these students from learning Torah all this time. Amai said, it says, heaven forsake, maybe I stopped all these people from learning Torah. So they showed him in his dream chatzvi chivri, white pitchers, the malyan kitma that was filled up with ashes. Means to say, there's not much in these people. They're not such great stuff. But says the Gemara V'lohi, it's actually not the case. Hahili Yisubi Daiti, that dream that he had, that vision, was just to put him at his mind at ease. Who the Aksile, that's where they showed it to him. But really, that he held back all these people from learning Torah, where not everyone's Teicha Kabara, but you let someone come learn Torah, people get turned on. So Tanya learned in the Brisa that Idias, this Masechta of Idias, which means testimony, is one of the Masechtas we have in the Mishnayos, Baibiyam Nishnas, was taught that day. And wherever in Shas we say, and that day, what day are we referring to? It was that day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah became the Nasi. Now, there was no halacha that was hanging in doubt, in the study hall, that they didn't explain it because there were so many students, there was so much what's called pilpul, there was so much talk and conversation that you have so much information and people's perspectives that it clarified all the doubts they had in the Beis HaMedrash. Now, even in Malil himself, he was the one that was just demoted. He didn't hold himself back from the study hall even for one moment. That's not like we learn the Mishnah Masechtas Yadayim. It says Baybayim, like we said, whenever it says that day, now you know it means that day of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's Nesius. Ba Yehuda Geramani Lefneim beBeis HaMedrash. So Yehuda, an Amini convert, came in front of them in Beis HaMedrash. Amalam, he said the Mani Lavi Bakal. What was the mean Lavi Bakal? He was a convert. It means that could he marry a Jewish woman? So Rimli said, Asra to Lavi Bakal. You're not allowed to marry a Jewish woman. Somebody be sure. Said, and this is actually the halacha. Mutter atu love bakal. You're allowed to marry a Jewish woman. You're allowed to come into the congregation. Somebody said to him, how could you say that? But like it's a pasuk in the Varim. It says lo yavi amayni avi bakal Hashem. Although the converts we accept into the fold, there are certain exceptions. An amayni man is not allowed to come into the congregation of Hashem. Somebody be sure. He says, do you think the people who live in Ammon and Moav today are the original Ammonites and Moabites? Do you think they live in their place? The king of Assyria, Sancheir, already came along. He's already mixed up all the nations of the world. Like it says the pasuk in Yeshaya. Says Sancheir himself said, as he's recorded, I removed the boundaries of the people. And their treasures I plundered. And I brought down the dwellers in the strongholds. Meaning to say, he took everyone, he conquered the world, he moved them from there and there to there, and then he took them all over the place. And therefore, we don't assume that the people living in Ammon today are the original Ammonites. And to the contrary, says Rabbi Shloimy, the parish, we have a halachic dictum that says as follows. This is important here. A day in halacha, the parish, whatever separated from a multitude, meruba parish, we assume it's from the majority. The majority of the world are not Ammonites. So the fact that they live in Ammon doesn't mean anything because he went and mixed up the whole world together. So therefore, we presume he's from some of the other nations and that he's permitted. Somebody said to him, but he brought a pasuk in Yomי that says, but Hashem says, and after that, Hashem says, I will return the captivity of the people of Ammon. So V'kvar Shova, they already came back. Hashem said he's going to bring them back. So they are the original Ammonites. He says, but I'll bring you a different pasuk in Amos. It says, V'shavti Yeshvus Ami Yisrael, I'll bring them back the captivity of my people, the Jewish people. You see they're not back yet. So therefore immediately they permitted this Yehuda to come into the congregation. So he says, since this is the case, meaning to say that the lach is like Rabbi Shua and for nothing I pained him, so let me go ahead and appease Rabbi Shua. Now when he came to his house, he saw that the walls of Rabbi Shua's house, the mashrin, that they were black. So Amalei said to him, he says, I could tell from the walls of your house, either that means to say that you're a charcoal maker or that you're a blacksmith. So Amalei Yeshua said to him, woe to the generation that you're the leader. You don't even know the suffering of the Talmudic scholars. What their parnas is, their livelihood. How do they provide for themselves? You don't even know what my profession is. Just now you come down to my house, you know what's going on in my life. That's not what a leader is supposed to be like. So Amalei said to him, okay, Rabbi Gamliel said, Nanesilach, I spoke too much against you. Machali, please forgive me. So he didn't pay attention to him. He says, Aseh b'shel kavod Abba, do for the honor of my father. Pious, then he appeased him. So Amru, after that they made up, they said, who's going to go tell the rabbis that they made up? So Amalu there was a certain laundryman that said, he says, I'll go. So Shalch Rabbi Yeshua Rabbi Yeshua sent with him a message to the study hall. The following cryptic message. Manda lavish mada, the one who wears the robe. In other words, the one that customarily wears that cloak, Yilbash mada, let him wear the robe. In other words, the one who always was the leader, Rimliel, let him be the leader. Manda lavish mada, and the one who doesn't wear the cloak, tell the one that does wear the cloak, take off your cloak, I'll wear it. In other words, say to speak that you're not the one that usually wears this. You're going to tell the one who uses it that he shouldn't wear his cloak. He's the leader, let him be the leader. Now, but Rabbi Kiva said to the Rabbanan, when they saw that messages are coming from that direction, said, Truki Gali, lock the doors, we don't want the servants of Rimlil to come, but let's the Rabbanan and pain the Rabbanan. So they locked the doors, they didn't let the message come in. So Rabbi Shloimy, he says, when he heard that they're not even letting the message go in, he says, Mutav de'ekim ve'ezel anolagabai. Better that I get up and I go myself to them. So also Tarfa Baba, he came and he knocked on the door of the Beis HaMedrash. So Amar Lahem, he said a similar type of a message. He said, Maza, the sprinkler, Ben Maza, the son of the sprinkler, meaning referring to a Kayin, Ben Kayin, Yaza, let him spray the purification waters of the Paraduma. Again, it's just a metaphor. But the one who doesn't sprinkle the waters, he's not the son of a sprinkler. He'll tell the sprinkler, the son of the sprinkler, that your waters are meima'ara, meaning when they had a tummy person, they would spray the paraduma waters. They would take the red heifer, burn it, take the ashes, mix in the water, and spray that on the tummy person. So essentially they're saying that the Kayin, he was the son of a Kayin, and he would spray the waters. So the one who's not a Kayin is telling the Kayin that your waters are meimar, are cave waters, ve'afarcha, and your ashes are ephra mikla, are ashes just from an oven. In other words, like it's just regular ashes. Basically saying that when you have a leader, the son of a leader, Rimliel, his father, his whole family dynasty were leaders of the Jewish people, and now you're telling him not to be a leader anymore. It's like telling a Kayin, oh, you're not a Kayin, your father's not a Kayin, the ashes are ashes from the oven, your water is cave water. What do you mean? These are the Kahanim here also. These are the leaders of the Jewish people. So Rabbi Kiva heard Rabbi Shua saying this message on the door of the Beis HaMedrash. He said, Rabbi Shua in the Spayasta, Shua, you were appeased? Oh, the reason why we locked the door, the reason why we didn't let the message come in was only for your honor. Me and you tomorrow, let's go to his doorway and let's take care of this and bring Rabbi Gamliel back. So they said, hey Chanava, what should we do with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah? Na'abri, if we're going to now take him down, like his wife had said, Gemiri, so we have a tradition, and this is halacha, Ma'ila Makaydish, we elevate in areas of sanctity, ve'em maridin, and we don't demote, meaning if you have a Rav and you have a certain leader in the community, you can't just take him down. So, and that's halacha. So therefore, he became a leader, we can't just take him down. And if you're going to say, Nidrish Mar Chodesh Shabbat, let me lecture 1 week, Umar Chodesh Shabbat, and let Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah lecture 1 week, Asli Kanu, it's going to be jealousy, it's going to be competition. Oh, you spoke last week, I spoke this week. Ella, rather, they made the following compromise. Ultimately, Gamliel is the leader. He's from that whole, the dynasty, his family. So let him lecture 3 weeks. But let him lecture 1 week. And behind the Damamara, this is what the Gemara says elsewhere in Masechtas Chagiga, that the question was asked, whose week was it? And they said, because we see that they would switch off weeks, Gamliel 3 weeks, and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah 1 week. Now the Gemara just comments, and that student, who's the one that started this whole conversation on the previous daf, that he asked Rabbi Shua and Gamliel, is my Rav Rishus Chayva? It was Reb Shimon ben Yochai. It was Reb Shimon ben Yochai. The Gemara doesn't tell us why that's so significant, but he's the one that started this feud, which ultimately took down Gamliel, put Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah in. That started where all the students came into Beis HaMedrash, and then ultimately brought back Gamliel, and it was 3 weeks and 1 week. Now we go back to the halacha of our Mishnah. We were talking about the times of all the tefillas that we daven every day. So b'sham musafin, and that of musaf, and this halacha is kol yom. You could have musaf all day. Now, however, Omer B'Yechon, he says v'nikra pesheya, and this is also the halacha. If someone delays it so late into the day, like after Rabbi Yehuda's 7 hours into the day, he's called that he's negligent, because even though you could daven all day, you shouldn't be pushing it off so long. Now, related to this, as we had brought this on the previous daf regarding a proof regarding ad b'chlal, regarding Rabbi Yehuda, so Torah and Ban, we learn the brisa. If someone has an opportunity in front of him to daven two tefillas, he could either daven right now mincha or musaf. What should he do? So it's a machlekes. Tanakama says mispal shel mincha. First daven mincha, because if it's already zman mincha, you want to go ahead and do it in the beginning of the zman, so that you shouldn't be called a pesheya on mincha. Let's say it's 1 o'clock. 1:30. So it's in the beginning of the Zman Mincha. Go chaparain, go daven Mincha now. And then go ahead and daven Musaf. Why? You already delayed the time of Musaf, because Musaf start already in the morning. So first of all, you're already late on that. And moreover, you're not going to be missing the time of Musaf, because Rabbanan disagreed with you. The whole Musaf could be daven all day. So at least do Mincha in the ideal way. Musaf, you're already anyways for past. You're already like a Pesheya. So go ahead and daven Musaf later and daven Mincha first. And the reason, that's actually interesting, the Mefarshim say, what I just said was Rashi. We said the classic Daf Yomi style, we say Rashi as we're translating. Rashi actually gives his own interpretation, even though the Gemara actually gives a different reason. The Gemara says the reason is Shazut Tadira, because Mincha is consistent every day. Bezuy and the Tadira, most of us not. So therefore, if you get a choice between one that's Tadr, V'she'inu Tadr, you do the Tadr and do Mincha first. Now Rabbi Yehuda, he says mispal shel musaf. No, first you daven musaf, achkach mispal shel mincha, then you daven mincha. Why? Shazu mitzvah iveres. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his opinion, as we mentioned in the previous daf on the brisa or in the Mishnah, different girsayis. He holds musaf is up until 7 hours in the day and not anymore. So even though now between 12:30 and 1 you have an opportunity of davening musaf and mincha, daven musaf because that's a time-sensitive mitzvah. V'zu mitzvah shein iveres. And mincha is not time-sensitive. You can daven all the way till plaga mincha till later into the day. Therefore, daven musaf first and then mincha. Now, Rabbi Yochanan says halacha, and this is the halacha. Mispal shel mincha. If a person has an opportunity to daven either one of them, he should first daven mincha, as we said, because it's more tadr, and also you weren't negligent with that yet. And then you daven musaf. Now, interestingly, Tosfos has an interesting discussion that therefore on Yom Kippurim you should daven shachris not so late. You mishlept abyssal, not to schlep so much, because what happens is you're going to daven shachris late. It's going to come time for musaf. You're already later into the day. You could have a musaf and mincha, and then you're going to have mincha the wrong order before musaf. And Tosfos actually says no. If he brings from the read, it's not a concern. This that you have to daven mincha first before musaf is if you're going to have to daven both right now because you're running to chasna, whatever this and that, then you go ahead and daven mincha first. But if you have time in the day, like you have in shul, Yom Kippur all day, then don't worry. Even though it's man musaf and mincha, even the way we paskin, you could first go ahead and that's actually the halacha. You could have a musaf first and then daven mincha later on. Now the Gemara brings a story related to this halacha that Reb Zera, Kavachalish Megirsi, when he was not feeling well from being able to learn, he would go and sit by the entryway of the yeshiva of Reb Nosson Bar Tuvi. But he said, when the Rabbanan who leave the yeshiva from Nosson come out, he says, okay, I'll stand up in front of them. If I kabbalah and I'll get reward, at least let me do something constructive. I can't learn right now, but I'll stand in front of the yeshiva and I'll stand up for them. So then the Rosh Yeshiva himself came out. Amalei said to him, who said the halacha in the Beis HaMedrash? Meaning, which one of the yeshiva students said in the Beis HaMedrash that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda? So Amalei said, no, halacha does not follow Rabbi Yehuda, the Amma Mispal Odom Shal Musa B'Afkach Mispal Shal Mincha. Like we just said before, that the teaching of Rabbi Yehuda was that the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda. Halacha is that we first daven mincha and then musaf. So Amalei say, yes, and Rabbi Yehuda, it was Rabbi Yehuda who said this? Amalei, and he says, yes, he's the one, as we just quoted before in the Gemara, that said, first you say mincha and then musaf, not like Rabbi Yehuda. So Tanimini Arba'in Zim, he learned it from him, he reviewed it 40 times. So Amalei, so Reb Nosson said to him, Chadihilach, is this the only one teaching, that you never had heard a teaching from Rabbi Yehuda before this teaching, therefore it's so dear to you, and therefore you're reviewing it 40 times? Or is it new to you? You thought someone else has said the teaching. So they sound similar words, Chada or Chadas, but he was wondering why are you saying it over 40 times? Is it the first one, Chada, or is Chadas, is it new to you? So Malay Chadasili. No, he says it's not the first teaching I heard from Rabbi Yehuda, but this is news to me that you're telling me. Because I was actually in doubt. Rabbi Shua ben Levi. He says, I thought Rabbi Shua ben Levi had said the teaching. Now that you told me it's Rabbi Yehuda who said it, I'm repeating it 40 times to get it down pat that it was Rabbi Yehuda who said that halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda the way we rule. Now, continuing with Rabbi Shua ben Levi that we just mentioned, also continue on this theme regarding delaying davening that's considered a pesheya. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, "Kol mispal tefillah shel musafin la'achar sheba shayis Rabbi Yehuda." If you hold like Rabbi Yehuda, or if you daven after that time of Rabbi Yehuda, of 7 hours into the day, and you daven musaf after that, so then Allah Vakasavayim regarding such a person, the pasuk says in Sefanya, nuge, broken, mimayid, because of the appointed time, asafti, I was gathered in, meaning I was destroyed, mimechayu, that they were from you. Now, what you see from this pasuk is because they delayed the times of prayers and of their holidays, so therefore they were nugim and they were asafim. They were gathered and they were destroyed. They were punished because of the designated times. Now the Gemara wonders, "My mashma the hay nugi." Where do you see that the word nugi means lishna de tavhu, a terminology of breaking? You're saying that such a person will break because he delays the timing. How do you know that nugi means that? Says the Gemara, "Can the Targum Rabbi Yosef, like Rabbi Yosef, we find many times in the Talmud and the Gemara that Rabbi Yosef had the Aramaic translation. He said, "Tavri asi al sanein the base Israel." Said a breaking will come on the enemies of the Jewish people. Again, that's euphemistic. It means the Jewish people itself. Al da'achri zimni ma'yadai b'Yerushalayim, because they delayed the times, the appointed times. Ma'yadayu could mean the Ma'yad. The Matais explains it can't mean the regalim, because there's no terminology of delaying a yom tov. There's no tashlumin. Tefillah, you could delay it. So therefore, that's what the pasuk means regarding the appointed times that they had in Yerushalayim of davening, because they delayed it. Therefore, they had nugi, which means that a person is broken. Now, similar interpretation in that same pasuk, Amr Balazri says, "Kol maspal tefillah shel shachris la'achar arba shayos Rabbi Yehuda." If someone daven shachris after the halachic 4 hours of Rabbi Yehuda, when you could daven shachris, Allah v'kazavayim on him the pasuk says the same pasuk, nugi mimayid, but he translates nugi differently. Afflicted from the appointed times, or safti, I was gathered in, memei chayu, from you was, as the Gemara says, my masham the haynugi lishna dit sarahu. He doesn't use it as a terminology of broken, but rather that of afflicted. The simple like says the pasuk can tell him, dolfa nafshi mituga, my soul melts from affliction. So you see, tuga means affliction. So nugi is the same shirish, same root, and therefore, again, we see that if a person davens after the 4 hours of the day, he's man tefillah, he misses man tefillah, so then he's going to have this affliction. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Mahachi brings a different pasuk to prove this point. In Eicha, Besulisea Nugais, her maidens are afflicted, Vihi, and she herself, Marla, is embittered. So you see that Nugais means afflicted. Again, that's just another source for this halacha, where we see that a person, if he delays the Zman HaTfilah, he gets either he breaks or he gets afflictions. So we continue Talmud Beis, where the Gemara continues with a related story. Rav Avia Chalash, Rav Avia was ill. We didn't come to the lecture of the Rosh Hashiva in Pumbedisa, Rabbi Yosef. Now, the way Rabbi Yosef used to lecture on Shabbos was as follows. Before Tfilas Musaf, he would lecture. After the drasha, they would then go to the shul and then daven the Musaf Tfilah. So Rav Avi didn't come to the lecture. The next day when he came to yeshiva, so Abai wanted to calm down Rabbi Yosef that why didn't one of his students come to the lecture? So Abai said to Rav Avi, he said, he wanted Rabbi Yosef to overhear the conversation to see why he's not upset. So he said, why didn't the master come to the lecture? I was feeling faint. I couldn't come to shul. If you were feeling faint because you hadn't eaten in such a long time, why didn't you eat something and then come to the drasha of the Rav? Amalei says, don't you hold what Rav Huna taught? Rav Huna said, a person not allowed to taste anything before you daven Musaf. You're not allowed to eat anything. The Rav's drasha was before Musaf. I couldn't eat anything and then come to the lecture because before Musaf. So Amalei says, no, you should have davened slusa de Musafim b'yachid. You're right. Let's say you can't eat before Musaf. And this is actually the halacha. You could daven your own private Musaf. Let's say someone's feeling faint. So you could daven Musaf by himself and then taste something. For the Mason, then you should have came. So you would have davened Musaf and then you could have came to the Rav's drasha. Amalei says, don't you hold what Rabbi Yechanan said? But this halacha also. You're in shul and they didn't daven Musaf yet and you're feeling impatient already, you want to go home. You're not allowed to daven Musaf before everyone else daven Musaf. So how am I supposed to daven Musaf if the whole tzibra only davens Musaf after the Rav's drasha? Amalei said Abaye back to him, didn't we learn on this? And this is the halacha, Rababa. This halacha is only b'tzibur shana. We only learned if you're in shul with the congregation, then you're not allowed to daven Musaf before everyone else. But if you, let's say, are not in shul, then actually you don't have to wait till the tzibur. And if he says you could have daven Musaf, then you could have ate something, and then you could have came to the Rav's drasha. See, Abaye was manning the olam. Now I've come to the Rav's drasha. It's not stam, you're not feeling well. You have to come to the Rav's drasha. Now the Gemara says, the halacha is not like Rav Huna that we just mentioned, but like Rabbi Shloimy Levi, which is, as the Gemara explains. The halacha, although it was mentioned in the previous story, the halacha is not Rav Huna that Hadamar refers to what he said before. We just quoted Rav Huna that says, you not taste anything before Musaf. We know that the people make Kiddush before Musaf. That is halachically sanctioned. A person is allowed to eat before Musaf and then go ahead and daven Musaf. So halacha doesn't even follow that halacha that he was quoting. And also halacha is not Rabbi Shloimy Levi. Because Rabbi Shloimy Levi, he says, he says, once it's time for davening mincha, you're not allowed to even taste anything before you daven mincha. And the halacha doesn't follow like that either, that you're allowed to taste food before, even though it came time for mincha, it's permitted to go ahead and taste, which is a similar halacha that we say not like Rav Huna and not like Rabbi Shimon Levi. You actually are allowed to eat before Musaf, so don't worry if you're feeling faint. You can gain in Machan the Kiddush and before the tefillah of the Musaf. Now we continue with the next Mishnah, which is actually very, very important halacha for us over here as we're learning. Because as the Mishnah quotes as follows, continue on the halachas of tefillas, from the Chodim ben Akana, he would make a prayer before he came into the Beis HaMedrash and when he would leave. And it would be a tefillah katzar, a short prayer. So Amalei said to him, what's the place for this prayer? In other words, what's the point of this tefillah? So Amalei said to them, when I come into the Beis HaMedrash, I make a prayer, that no mishap should happen through me. When I leave, I give thanks for my portion that I'm from those Lamdei Torah. As we learned in the Brisa that elaborates on this tefillah, and this is actually the halacha. Actually brought in Shulchan Aruch. When you come in to learn, there's a tefillah you're supposed to say, and this tefillah is what we're going to say right now. When it comes in, and some Gemaras have it now printed in the inside of the Gemara, because this is a halacha. When you come in, you're supposed to say the following words. May be the will in front of you, Hashem, my God. That no stumbling block should come through me. And that I shouldn't stumble in the words of halacha. And that my friends will rejoice. In other words, they'll rejoice about my stumbling. In other words, we're talking about two bad things that will happen. First of all, that there's going to be a takala that's going to come through me, and then I'm going to cause other people to get punished because they're going to be happy. Says, look what happened to him, right? He said that this is mutter, that's us, right? So he prayed that he shouldn't make a mistake and that others shouldn't rejoice over his downfall. I shouldn't say something that's really impure, that it's pure. Not something that's tar, that it's tamei. And that my friends shouldn't make a stumbling in halacha. That I should rejoice over them, that as if I need to best them. So that's what he would say when he would come into the Beis HaMedrash. This is also halacha. When you leave, when you finish learning for the day, what should you say? I give thanks to you in front of you, Hashem, my God. You made my portion of those who sit in the Beis HaMedrash. You didn't make my portion of those who sit in the corners, either referring to the storekeepers or to the ignoramuses that all they do is they just chatter all day, which we recognize this nusach because it was said so nicely by Frankie, by the Sima Shas, that we had the other day, that this nusach we say at the end of a Masechta, but this is actually a nusach that's brought in halacha to say every day after you finish learning. Sha'ani mashkim he mashkim, because those who sit in the Kronis, and in contrast to me, that I'm in the Beis HaMedrash, I get up and they get up. Ani mashkim l'divrei Torah, I get up, and here literally, in my son's yeshiva, one of the Rebbeim wrote down that he said, why do you say ani mashkim? Because it's not just learning Torah. Everyone here in this shiur is mashkim l'divrei Torah. He says not just that he learns Torah, he says, what do I get up for in the morning? The first thing I get up to is I learn Torah. When they get up for idle things. Ani amol, I toil. They also toil. Ani amol l'makabel sachar, the classic interpretation. I toil and I get reward, not for the product. I get reward for the effort I put in. I come every day to the Daf Yomi. It's not about the product. It's my amelis. It could be I'm not even getting a 3/4 or a half. It doesn't make a difference. It's the amelis. You get the reward just for putting the effort. They don't get reward for just the effort. You don't produce, you don't get. It's funny, I was once driving somewhere I think it was on the thruway, or one of these places, the exact opposite of Yiddish teachings. It says, it's all about the product. If I go, what it was, I'm sure you have seen this on the way to Newark or something. What does it say? What does it say? It's exactly the opposite of Yiddishkeit. It says it doesn't make a difference how much effort you put in. Next time you'll see it. It's on the...
It's not what you eat, it's how much you eat.
That's a different one. There's something that says basically like it's all about what you... It's on the way, I'm not going with the throughway, whatever one it is. You'll take a look, you'll see it's exactly the opposite. Yiddishkeit we hold, it's about the amelis. And they're almost... They don't get any reward for the effort they put in. Ani rots, I run, behem rots, and they run. Ani rots, but where am I running? What are we here for? I'm running to the world to come. And then running to the pit of destruction. Now, trying to learn the Brisa, continue on this theme regarding Chayil Mabah in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, in Yahadis, we're so focused on, okay, so you have a difficulty, you have a challenge, but what are we here for? The whole point is for the next world. 70 years, 80 years, I tell people all the time, you would let your husband go to med school. You let him go, be a resident. You know how long it would take till you start getting money back? Why you do it? Because investment. What's 70 years? You're investing eternity. Says the Gemara, it's false. Learn the Brisa, because Rabbi Eliezer, when Rabbi Eliezer became sick, Nichnasu tamidav levakar. So students came in to visit him. Amalei, they said to him, Rabbeinu, our teacher, lamdeinu, teach us, arches chaim, the path of life, v'niskeben l'chayim laba, that we should merit to the life of the world to come. So Amalei said to them the following things. Hizaru b'chvayt chaverchem, be careful with the dignity of your friends. Umanu b'nechem in a hegin. Stop your sons from hegin, which even that means to say, don't let them learn so much chumash, because it draws a person, it's exciting, it's interesting, but it's going to take you away from the integral things you have to learn, or it means from childish talk. And v'hishivim bein birkei talmidei chacham, put them amongst the knees of the Talmudic scholars, because you get influence. When you're by great people, it teaches the kids great things. When you pray, and this halacha, know in front of who you're standing that you should pray with fear and with kavanah, with focus. And because of that, then you'll merit to the world to come. A similar story. When he became ill, so students came to visit him. And once he saw his students, he started to cry. Amur like Tamid, the student said to him, Ner Yisrael, light of the Jewish people, Amur Haimini, the right pillar. What that refers to is that Shloimo Melech made two pillars in the Ulam, in the antechamber of the Beis HaMikdash. The right pillar was called Yachin, the left pillar was called Bayas, as the pasuk is Melachim Aleph. Most of you might recognize Yachin and Bayas from the commentary that Tveres Yisrael and Mishnayos. But the Yachin is the right pillar, and Bayas was the left one, and the right one is always the more distinguished one. So he says, you're the right pillar, Patish HaChazik, the mighty hammer. Why are you crying? Amlam said to them, if they were taking me in front of a king that's just flesh and blood. Today he's here, but tomorrow he's in the grave. If he gets angry at me, his anger is not forever. If he puts me in jail, I'm not necessarily me in jail forever. If he kills me, his death is not an eternal death for the world to come. And I could also appease him with words, I could bribe him with money. Even so, I would cry from the fear of the judgment. What are they doing? Where are they taking me? Now that I'm passing away, they're taking me in front of the King of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he lives and he stays forever and ever and ever. He's angry at me, he's eternal anger. If he's angry at me, I'm in jail forever. If he kills me, it's an eternal death. And I can't appease him with words, I can't bribe him with money. Not only that, in front of me there's two paths. One is paradise, one is purgatory. And I don't know which path I'm going on. I'm not going to cry. So they said to him, Rabbeinu, our teacher, bless us. He said to them, and may be the will, that the fear of heaven be on you, like the fear of flesh and blood. So the student said, Ad kan? That's it? In other words, not more than how we're afraid of a person, that's how we should fear God? He said to them, if only it would be that like the fear of a person, if you would have like the fear of a person, you would stop from doing many, many sins. He says, Tate, you should know this. When a person violates a sin in private, he's afraid of other people, what they're going to say. He's in the closet regarding certain things. But he knows that God sees everything and he doesn't stop doing it. And Oimi says, it should lay around the other, hope nobody sees me. But God sees him, but he's not afraid. He says, if only you would fear God the way you fear other people, you would stop from many sins. Now, as he passed away, he said to the students, Panu Kalim, take the vessels out of the house, because there's something called, there's a tumah of oil ames. If there's a dead person in the oil, all the vessels become tummy. So he said, take the vessels out because of tumah. And prepare a chair for Chizkiyo, the king of Yehuda, who he was a descendant of him, Shabbat, that is coming to me to escort me to the world to come. Now we continue with the next Mishnah, continuing on this halacha of tefillos, of davening, which actually is just a machlek, exactly what do we do every single day? He says, every single day, you daven what we call the Shemoneh Esrei, the 18 brachas of Shemoneh Esrei. Beruchas says, no, every single day you actually daven Me'en Yudches, an abridged version of Shemoneh Esrei, which the Gemara in the next Daf is going to explain what is this opinion of an abridged Shemoneh Esrei. Rabbi Kiva, in a third opinion, says it depends. If his prayer is fluent in his mouth, Mispal Yudches, then he should daven the full Shemoneh Esrei. From love, if it's not so fluent in davening, Me'en Yudches, he should do the abridged version. Now, another halacha, Rabbi Lazar, he says, if you make your prayer into a fixed thing, okay, shachas, mincha, mariv, then his prayer is not a supplication. The Gemara is going to explain also what does that mean. Now, sometimes, however, like Rabbi Shua said, that we make an abridgment, Rabbi Shua, he says something is even more abridged than just the me'en yudches. He says, if someone goes in a dangerous place, mispal tefillah ketzara, he davens a short prayer, and he says, and this is the tefillah ketzara, Haisha Hashem es amcha, Hashem, save your people, as She'eris Yisrael, the remnant of the Jewish people. B'chol Parshas Ibur. The Gemara is going to explain what does it mean in all the situations of the Ibur. Yitzochem lefanecha, let all their needs be in front of you. Baruch atah Hashem shemei tefillah, blessed are you Hashem who hears the prayer. Now continue on the theme regarding when you're on a journey. If someone was riding on a donkey, so Yerid Vespal, you should come off the donkey and you should pray. Now if he can't come down because he has no one to hold his donkey, so then Yachzez Panav. Okay, stay on the donkey, but at least turn your face towards Yerushalayim. Now, let's say you can't even turn your face. Then at least you should turn your heart, your focus, your intent towards the holiest of the holies in the Beis HaMikdash. Now, let's say he was going on a boat, or either that means to say he's in jail, or it means to say he was on this raft, which has pieces of wood that are tied together, where it's just floating in the river, and he goes from one place to another one, but he can't figure out, like on a boat, which exactly is the direction of the Kachei Kadashim. At least focus your heart towards the Kachei Kadashim. Now the Gemara asks a very interesting question. We know that the Shmoyne Esrei, as we just said in the Mishnah, these 18 blessings we say in what we call the Amidah, Keneged me. What does it correlate to? Why are there 18 brachas? So Amr Hill Bered Shmuel ben Nachman, he says, Keneged Yutches Askar Shama David. It relates to the 18 mentions of God's name that David HaMelech says in the Parak of Tehillim and Parak of Tes, B'havul Hashem, in that tefillah which says, render to Hashem b'nei Elim, the sons of the powerful ones, which, why that Parak in Tehillim? Because the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Lamed Beis Amanav says, in that Parak of Tehillim, it alludes to the Avis, which b'nei Elim, the Elim are the Avis. It refers to the Gvorus, the Halacha, the next Brach of Tchis HaMesim. It mentions over the sanctification of Hashem's name of Ata Kaddish, and therefore, that's the Parak in Tehillim that talks about the brachas of Shemona Esrei, and in that which alludes to the brachas of Shemona Esrei, it mentions God's name 18 times. Therefore, we have 18 brachas of Shemona Esrei. A second interpretation of Yisrael says, "Keneged Yotches Askar Shebekrishma." Mentions God's names 18 times in Krishma. That's why we have 18 brachas in Shemona Esrei. A third interpretation, or says, "Keneged Shemona Esrei Chul Yeshu B'Shedra." It relates to the 18 vertebrae in the spine. And because of that, as the Gemara continues, as we see, the spine is related to davening. Why? Because the same Amor of Amr Tancham Rabbi Shimon Levi, he says, Hamispal, when someone davens, Tzarch Sheyichri, he has to bow down, and this is the halacha, Ad Sheyispakuku, until it protrudes, meaning that you could see the vertebrae, which those are the knots that one has in the spine, that until they protrude, Kol Chul Yeshu B'Shedra, all the vertebrae in the spine. So when you bow down, it has to be that all the vertebrae are protruding. Now, Ulamar, he actually gives a second interpretation when you bow down. He says, Ad Kadeshi Yira Isser, it's until that you could see an Isser, which is the size of a coin, that two folds, one on the top and one beneath, when you're bending over, your flesh folds over. So you have to have like the size of a coin that's called an Isser, and maybe Meir has you have an Isser, you have a dinner. You have an Isser too? Psh, okay. So we're going to have to wait off the show. He has a Isser. He went to the Torah Museum, and we'll see an actual Isser in Halacha that when you bend over, this opinion is saying that Keneged Liba, by the area of your chest, it has to be that there's a fold over of one on the top, one on the bottom, of that size, the size of an Isser. Third interpretation of Chanina, he says, Kivin Shanana Roisha says, no, once you already bent you bowed your head over, Shuvei Nitzarch, then you don't have to bend down anymore. Now, this is the halacha, but Amar Ravi gives an important qualification. It says, V'hud mitzar nafshe, this is only if he's in pain, u'mechzi command the car, and he shows like as if he wants to bow down. In other words, it has to be recognizable that you really want to bow down, but you can't. You have lower back pain, you have a herniated disc, you can't. But at least let it look like that you want to, then it's going to be enough in halacha. Now the Gemara says, how many tamni straight? What, there's 18 brachas? Tashas we have, and we know why we call it Shemona Esrei. There's 19 brachas. So Rabbi Levi says, Beruchas Tzedukim, the blessing of the heretics, b'Yavne Hiskinu. This they instituted in Yavne at a later point in time, which, as we said, there are some Gersois that said that this was taken out by the censors. Many Gemaras we have were tampered with the censors, which the church controlled much of the place where they were printing. So they censored, and the words here are actually karvlet in Rashi is karvlet tabusa shel Yesha HaNotzri. When the Yesha HaNotzri, when he came into his influence in the world, then he was shalom. He taught the people he was a heretic, and he was telling people to give wrong interpretations. So at that time, in Yavne, they instituted the bracha of the tzedukim, and that was because of Yesha HaNotzri, because of Christianity. So to prevent that influence, the sages instituted the bracha of Alamashina. Now, it says the Gemara, Keneged mitaknu. Okay, now, where does that correlate to? We just said 18 brachas, 3 interpretations. Now you're adding on the 19th one. Where do you find allusion to that? So now each interpretation finds some other related element. Amr B'Levi Reb Hillel Bered Reb Shmuel ben Nachman. He says, Keneged, in that same parak in Tehillim Chav Tes, it says, El HaKavod, the God of glory, hear him thunders. So here, Kel HaKavod is a 19th allusion. The Rabbi Yosef, when he said it's regarding, because it says God's name 18 times in Shema, it's Keneged Echad Shebekri Shema. Echad is not really God's name, but it's like we say to Malchias, it's the unification, so that's like as if it's God's name. That's the 19th allusion. Reb Tanchem, Amri B'Shuma Levi, when he said it's the 18th vertebrae in the spine, it's Keneged Chulya Katana Shebeshedra, that relates to the small vertebrae at the bottom of the shedra, which is the luz bone, that's like it's on the bottom, it's not really part of the spine, it's where the whole body connects. That's the 19th one, that's the one that's alluding to the 19th bracha that was later added on. Some ideas we spoke about in today's Daf and Beruchas Daf Chavches was a continuation of the day they appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, because of that story with Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Gamliel, that they took to Rabbi Gamliel because of the disrespect they did for Rabbi Shua. And anytime in Shas it mentions Bay Bayim, it refers to this day, which is when the whole mission of Idias, which were the testimonies, because in the Srabas of Salam they had more benches, everyone came in, there was so much Torah going on that they clarified every doubt. Which one of the stories was that there was an Ammoni ger that they permitted to come into the Kahal. Why? It says in the Torah, Nalaru, is because called the Parsh Meruba Parsh. The world was all mixed up, and we presume that it's from some other nation and not from that of the Ammonim. Then ultimately Gamliel appeased Rabbi Shua, and they made a compromise, because you can't demote Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. In areas of Kedusha, you only elevate. So Rabbi Gamliel should lecture 3 weeks, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah only 1 week, and that's what it means elsewhere. It says Shabbos Shal whose week was it? Because they would switch off lecturing. The Rav would lecture 3 weeks, someone else would lecture 1 week. Now, in the Mishnah we said that the Tanna Kama holds Shemasafin is Kol Hayom. So we said that even though you could daven Musaf all day, you call the B'Sheya, and in Halach it's brought like that if you delay Musaf too long. Now, let's say it's also Zman Mincha, so then it's a Machlokes. That the Chacham held you first daven Mincha because it's more constant, and Musaf is all day, so it's not going to be missing that time. Rabbi Yehuda held that the Musaf is first because Shazu Averes, because Rabbi Yehuda, according to his opinion, holds that the Mazman of Musaf is only up until 1 o'clock. 12:30 you can start davening Mincha, and that's more time spent. You could daven both, but rather daven Musaf because that's time sensitive. So therefore, you would rather daven Musaf. Then we brought a story related to this previous halacha that introduced 3 halachas that are important. You're allowed to make kiddush and eat before Musaf. Yay, let's all clap. You're allowed to go ahead and eat before Mincha. And also, you're not allowed to go and daven before the tzibur. Let's not clap. If the shul is taking a long time, mishlep, someone is davening, the chazan, you can't go ahead and daven beforehand. If you have to, you actually can leave shul, but not in shul itself, because we said that the problem is only imhat tzibur. With the public, then you can't daven before everyone else. Then went to the next Mishnah, which we said is a very important halacha, Tefillah Sheb Nechunim in Akana, which many people think it's a Aggadic teaching. It's a real halacha. Before you learn, you're supposed to make a request that you shouldn't stumble in your learning. And after you finish learning, you're supposed to give hoidah, thanks that you gave my portion from those Olam Di Torah, which again we said is the nusach of the siyum, but it's really every time, every day a person finishes learning. We brought 2 stories when the teachers became sick, the students came in and they gave sobering mortality messages regarding the life of the world to come. Went to the next Mishnah, we spoke about everyday tefillah, 3 different interpretations. Our custom, which we do Shemoneh Esrei. Another interpretation says, no, you do in the bridge Shemoneh Esrei. And a third interpretation depends if you're fluent or not. We spoke about also in the Mishnah regarding a short prayer in the areas of danger, which is a halacha, as we'll speak about in the next daf. Also, altas tefillas chekva, as it says in Office, you shouldn't make your prayer into something of like just a permanent thing, that it should be like that of tachanunim. And also, in this order, when you're davening, you should focus your body, or at least your face, or at least your heart, towards the Kachei HaKadosh and towards the area of the Beis HaMikdash. Then we spoke about in the Gemara why there's Shemoneh Esrei brachas, either because in the Perek Chavtes of Tilim, which talks about a lot of the brachas of Shemoneh Esrei, which we actually learned it out from, there it mentions God's name 18 times, or mentions God's name 18 times in the Kriya Shema, or because the 18 vertebrae in the spine, which that relates to the other halacha, when you bow down, you're supposed to have every one of the vertebrae sticking out of your spine, or no, it's enough, like the size of a coin of an Isser, opposite the area of your chest when you bend over, that's the flesh that is covered by those 2 folds, or a third interpretation, which we rule, if you're in pain, then it's enough if you just shake your head. And then the Gemara said, but they actually added a 19th bracha. That was later on, V'lamashinu, we'll call Birchat Tzedukim, which again, each one of these interpretations find one more allusion in those things to allude to this halacha of 19 brachas in Shemoneh Esrei. Thank you to any time for hosting us.